the land of the home and free. What is that?
Aloha.
Aloha. Thank you, Maui. I know you have some big things happening. Can you please help and inform the people on the other islands exactly what's coming down on Maui and why should we be concerned?
Okay. Well, many things. I think the biggest issue right now has a lot to do with the Ceded Lands Trust, yeah, on the Leialii project. The lawsuit basically was put together by some key individuals. I think there was like 5 of them at that time. One was John Osorio, you had Charles Kai, and the other one was Kilkikili, and a couple more others. And the argument was that these lands was going to be developed for people of minimal or no Hawaiian blood. So which basically started off the lawsuit in 1994. Talking about the ceded land revenues and the percentage of ceded lands and for the beneficiaries of the wards of the state of the 50% plus blood quantum. Now, because of the development that has risen in the Leialii, they set aside a portion for DHHL lands, small portion. I mean, you look at the map, it's like all of a sudden, Kanaka's got thrown the bone. And in the settlement agreement of this in 2009, Linda Lingo signs into Act called the Act 176. And this Act 176 basically sets certain conditions for these properties to be allowed to be developed. Yeah, the state right now wants to go into a full-scale development. Before in the EIS read 4,300 homes. Now they downscaled it to 2,900 residential homes and amenities of schools, possible stores, everything. This whole place is going to be on monstrosity. My problem is it's the ceded lands. Yeah. Now, and despite OHA gets into a litigation or lawsuit with the HHL and the state, the negotiation from that basically was to allow the state to sell off these lands, yeah, for development or sell off these lands for residential homes and stuff. My problem is, okay, DHHL get thrown one small little bone. They get afforded 104 lots, yeah, no conditions on what will come tomorrow for the 50% blood quantums now. And now all of a sudden you look at the bigger picture, you get a monstrosity of almost 10 times the size of this development going to be built. Mauka, the Native Hawaiian Department of Hawaiian Homelands, where now all of a sudden the state takes full control of ceded lands to be sold, subdivided, and sold off to any Tom, Dick, and Harry. That's my problem. So our meeting we had tonight was to get the communities together and say, you know what, if this is a done deal, then what are we going to do about it? And questions came about whether or not, you know, we're going to take drastic measures or we're going to basically throw different wrenches in there to bring the issue to the forefront and what basically is the ceded lands, what is the conditions of the ceded lands under the 5F Ceded Land Trust. Now, under the 5F Ceded Land Trust, those lands are supposed to be set aside for Native Hawaiians' health, housing, and education. In order for these properties to be developed the way the state wants these properties to be developed, they have to put a resolution together, they have to put a proposal on how this development is going to go, and they have to get final approval from legislation. So being they have to get final approval from legislation, what we were thinking of that, you know what, we got to bring the community's awareness up, yeah, to get a lot more people involved in the process to say, if DHHL and the Office of Hawaiian Affairs had set aside these lands for the majority of Native Hawaiians of 50% blood, to me, that's a no-no. But the reality is, it's done. So now we're looking at these potential development of 2,900 plus lots with amenities. Then our mission, Kuleana Ku'ikahi LLC, is to get or bring an awareness to the majority of Native Hawaiians out there push the 50% Hawaiian blood quantum. Make the agencies accountable. Make the state accountable to providing homes for Native Hawaiians of 50% blood. But if this act went through, 176, then the condition should say, okay, let's look at Native Hawaiians with less than 59% or 50% at a 49% lower and provide homes for them first as priority. If they already when sell this thing, this cow down the track is going, then what about the Native Hawaiians who couldn't qualify for DHHL? And now all of a sudden we see OHA signs off on this deal, giving the state an allowance to develop all these properties for other purposes. I still think that's wrong. And being that it has to go through the 176 in compliance of legislation, they cannot get away with the fact that these are under the 5F Ceded Land Trust, which means revenue still got to go back to the beneficiaries. Let's just take away the revenues and look at the amenities of what the 49% or the Native Hawaiian population can acquire out of here. If it's not the 50% these homes going to be built for, let's concentrate on the minimal block as a priority. Statewide, we get Hawaiians out there living on a beach. We get Hawaiians out there renting still yet. Still never open up for DHHL. Why is that? When development such as this. Now all of a sudden we get placed on a site for the ones that have been waiting on the waiting list, like me. I've been waiting on a waiting list for 37 years. 37 years, and they're coming up with something like this to develop in this area for people of no blood. So we should concentrate heavily on providing homes for the minimal Native Hawaiians. Yeah, first priority, because of the condition and the lands that were set under the legislation. And we need to bring an awareness to all the legislative representatives, bring an awareness to the county council, because they're going to be the permitting entity. The county council, the legislation, get everybody in here, get the community together, yeah, and tell them this is wrong. And being that this is wrong, the only solution to this is to provide for the minorities that have been living on this island with the asset. We're not going to buy these homes and sell them off to some other guy. Our life is here. We don't like to be moving someplace else in some far off country being abided by somebody else's rules and regulations. This is our place. So we need to set the legislation right up on their heels and tell them this is a priority to us, and this may be a domino effect. Maybe a domino effect. If this happens on our ceded lands, yeah, then everything else is going to fall in the state of Hawaii. This will set precedents. If our communities don't get together of the minimal blood plus the 50% Native Hawaiian blood that we can get together, talk about this and how it's going to benefit the true residents, then I see a possibility where we're going to benefit. Or we can always lay down in front of the bulldozer. But then at the same time, you got to really realize, would we have any backing on the lawful side? Example, or sends its final recommendations, or one of its recommendations to the project, saying that the project basically didn't have enough information in the cultural impact assessment, and they were requiring that this development go through another cultural impact assessment with families to be implemented in the EIS. So they're coming to us on what may be jeopardized in these properties of historic properties. Sites, burials, just all the kind, nonsense kind of things. They come to the Native Hawaiians and say, okay, I get concerns over here, I get concerns over there. They set those things on the side just for a rubber stamp so they can develop these projects, not for the minorities, which is us, but for the majority out there. Okay? And when I look in OHA's report, everything that they mentioned has a lot to do with everything else but the beneficiaries. Okay, they talk about conceptual project plans, requests for proposal, supplemental environmental impact statement, additional chapter 343, compliance, housing, agricultural lands, water, parks, chapter 6E, Hawaii revised statutes. They talk about the bypass. They talk about sites and cemeteries, which is all good kinds of things to bring up. Culture impact assessment. And in the conclusion doesn't get me, that they don't mention anything about the 5 Ceded Land Trust and the beneficiaries and the wards of the state, which only tells me that all they're looking for is information to go with this, just so this project can go forward, which only tells me, oh, they're not backing us. They're not backing the minority. They're not backing the majority. They're not doing their job. DHHL seems like they're settled on the small little piece they got on the bottom, which this whole thing was potential for DHHL homes. This whole parcel. And this is where Leialii stay, right on the bottom. This one small little piece. That in the lawsuit against OHA and the state of Hawaii, this was the argument. And this is what we got.
That's the result.
That's the result. So if that's the condition that is set over here and it goes to the Hawaii housing development, we the community got a demand saying that this land supposed to be set aside for the beneficiaries. Yeah, and I say beneficiary. I don't say 50%. Because apparently the 50% settled. I'm 90%. I'm not settled. I'm not settled even for my future generations tomorrow, whether or not there is any guarantees they're going to have any properties. What even scares me more, APEC. They're in town right now. And I know that Neil and the mayor, yeah, and all the mayors in all these counties go and sell to foreign trade, to foreign investment, globalization. Total monstrosities coming to us tomorrow. So we gotta start getting together. The minorities start getting together and trying to figure out where is our resolve. Where do we need to go from here? We can lay down in front of the bulldozer, but what good is that gonna do when we ain't got the Office of Hawaiian Affairs to back us? We ain't got nobody to back us. The community needs to rise up. The community needs to set some precedences in here and say every development that is here gotta be up and affordable for the residents. We've seen too much of our lands get cut up for people who just want to move here, or people who just move in here. We can't even take care of our own families over here. So, in hopes, what we're doing is we're preparing for a big meeting with the development company, the state, the Department of Transportation, with the County of Maui, even the County Council, if we can get the House and legislation here at the next meeting that we plan. Hopefully we can see some results within, I would say, a month that we get our next meeting planned. But stay tuned. What I'm going to do is try to get the information out there on Facebook or through via Ponoke Aloha, and hopefully we can nip this thing in a butt and making sure that this development is done right and not done where all of a sudden our neighborhood is going to be controlled by outside entities. So, mahalo.
Mahalo. If anybody would like to know any more information, how can they reach you?
You can email me, kuleanavalley@yahoo.com. kuleanavalley@yahoo.com. KULEANAVALLEY@yahoo.com.
Mahalo.
Mahalo.
When you what keeps me going, but there's one thing I gotta stand. The American dream.
What is that?
The land of the home